Hello everyone, it's Cookie Lou in Arizona, coming to you again today with Eating Veggie Plan number 3. First dish I'm going to talk about is beans and rice, Bush's vegetarian baked beans with a little brown sugar in it, and some long grain wild rice that I cooked a little al dente. Strained the beans, washed off all the salt and sugar and the sauce off the beans, and mixed it in with the rice once it was cooked, and dished it out. Very plain, simple, and delicious. Next meal is polenta, which is a corn mash. Italians make this a great deal. Polenta is, like I said, a corn meal that is cooked up, usually slapped on a big long board in the middle of the table on top of the sauce. This is already preformed. It's basil and garlic flavoring, and I make it a lot different, of course. I slice the medallions like you see here in this photo, and I fry it up slightly in a cast iron pan, which I just have a little tad bit of oil in there, and I season that oil by I season the pan with the oil by rubbing it all around the pan with a paper towel. Slightly toasted the medallions up just a little bit. Then I took my diced onion with a little bit of butter to add a little more flavor to this dish, because truthfully polenta is very bland. And sauteed the butter, added a little bit of water and some broth to it. It did require some tomato paste with like a half a cup of cream or something, so to change the caloric value of that, I just used Trader Joe's organic creamy tomato soup, which I love. I simply love the flavor of the soup. And it did add the tomato bisque ingredient that I needed for this dish. Instead of using the half a cup of cheese that is required, I use a quarter a cup of nutritional yeast. I put the polenta medallions back in the pan, covered them up, put some extra yeast with some Italian seasoning, and then I put the cast iron pan in the oven for about, maybe 20 minutes, about 350 degrees, till it all cooked up a little bit, and then I served it up in a dish. This was very tasty, to tell you the truth, and I did eat more than I should have. My stomach was about ready to bust. This is a photo of a bite of the polenta on a fork, and it's a very heavy meal. This is a recipe that I got from a woman who was on Dr. Oz, presenting an East Indian tea recipe that she claims is a very good fat burner and detoxifier. So she claims that if you sip on this tea all day, you'll burn a lot of fat and you'll detox your body. It's a simple recipe, very easy to make. I always use, by the way, Arrowhead mountain water, mountain stream, spring water. You don't want to use sink water when you make something like this. 5 cups of water, a half a teaspoon of each ingredient: cumin, fennel seeds, and coriander. Bring it all to a boil. Once you hear the tea kettle starting to whistle, take it off the heat, let it seep or steep for about 15-20 minutes, and then strain out the seeds, as you see here in these photos, and pour the tea in a jar. And that's all the seeds that I got out of the tea. This is what it looks like. It tastes a lot like chamomile tea, and it's very enjoyable, hot or cold. This is a favorite breakfast of mine. It's whole oat cereal with diced bananas, strawberries, and prunes. You could put any fruit with this that is of your liking. Apple, some diced up walnuts, blueberries. I went shopping the other day, and I got some new cereals that I thought would be nice to try. These are whole oat and grain cereals, little to no sugar in them. Sun-dried tomatoes is excellent to add into anything that you're cooking that needs a little sweet tomato taste. This is my favorite tomato to use for sauces, stews, soups, whatever. It's El Monte stewed tomatoes original recipe. Love this tomato. Use it in everything. Whole grain cracker by Wassa. I love that. Put any kind of well, I used to put cheese on it, but now I'm putting hummus on it and a little mashed avocado. A little visual here. I'm sorry, I don't mean to gross you out, but this is just something I wanted to do to demonstrate what I've learned about oil being 100% fat, and any oil we use is 100% fat. You know I'm Italian, you know I love my extra virgin olive oil and I use it for everything. But just to give you a visual that it does coagulate because it is 100% fat. And the fat globules that it can create in this bottle is exactly what it does to our arteries and blood vessels in our bodies. It's unfortunate. A little bit of olive oil used on a regular basis is not going to kill anybody, but if you have a heart disease or prone for heart disease, I'd stay away from this or use it very, very little because it does plug up the heart. This recipe is something I got out of a magazine. It is crispy cinnamon garbanzo beans without the cinnamon and sugar that was required in the sweet snack recipe. I used the savory recipe, which would require salt, paprika, and just freshly ground salt, pepper. I did add some extra ingredients to this because I'm always doctoring things up to suit my taste. I used nutritional yeast to give it a little bit of a cheesy flavor. I use onion powder, garlic powder, salt, pepper, paprika, and a few other last-minute seasonings that I decided to toss in at the end of the recipe. They came out like roasty nuts. They were really delicious snack, and this is pretty much how I made them. I started with the dried garbanzo beans. And then I hydrated them in clean, pure water, mountain spring water. You don't want to rehydrate something with crappy tap water with chlorine and God knows what else in it. So keep your water clean when you're rehydrating anything. Strain them, get the water out eventually in a sculabasta, macaroni strainer. We call it sculabasta in Italian. And once you drain them, put them in a paper towel, pat them dry. Then add just a wee bit of olive oil. I have probably a tablespoon in here at the most. And I just tossed it around by hand to coat the beans. Most of the oil really came off on my hand, which I wiped off with a paper towel. Place the beans on the cookie tray that is lined with some foil and shake them up a little bit. You can see I have some paprika and seasoning on these beans, and I just toss them around to make sure that they're well coated. And I put them in a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes. And I went in the oven about 2 or 3 times to shake them up. And they did roast up really, really well. Very toasty and nutty. Last thought, I wanted to put a little pesto sauce in the mix. So I had the pesto sauce, which is basil chopped up real fine with a lot of garlic. And it's usually put in a little jar with a little bit of olive oil. There's not very much olive oil in this. So I put that in and I mix it up real good to coat the pesto sauce throughout the amount of beans that I had in the dish. And then again, after tasting it, I decided to add a little Old Bay seasoning to kind of kick it up a little bit and put a little spice in there. I'm not much of a hot, spicy person, but I do like a little spice once in a while. And here's what my chickpea, my roasted chickpea looks like. Very crunchy. Delicious little snack to have while you're watching TV. I have it in a half-cup container. Most of my snacks are in a half-cup container to kind of portion control what I'm eating. And there's my little roasted nut. I'm enjoying it while I'm watching TV. Another chickpea recipe that I'm going to share with you is something that I got from my friend in England, Christine. Skinny Brit to Be. I'm sure many of you know Christine in England. She has a lot of very good recipes that I have noted for myself to try. And I haven't tried this one yet, but this is next on my list. But these are Christine's photographs that she included in her recipe on her YouTube video. And it is more of a savory, hot garbanzo bean recipe that you would eat as a side dish or as a main course if you would just wanted, beans for lunch or something like that. Looks delicious, and I know the way she put it together has to really taste very, very delicious as well. She sautés some onion in olive oil or in some kind of oil. And she does add garlic granules, balsamic vinegar, and some Oriental sauces or Asian sauces, Chinese sauces, whatever I'm going to say. She said that she's very fond of this brand called Blue Dragon. You can get it online. She adds a little of that Chinese sauce to her onion mix, and I think when she puts the beans in there and coats it all up together, it has a nice Chinese flavor to it. I guess you could probably use any flavored sauce that you'd like, barbecue sauce or what have you. This is a little snack that I made for myself. And no, I did not eat all this popcorn. This is about a 2.5 cup serving. And I air pop it with no oil of any kind and no salt. And I have learned that instead of using a fat ladled chip to dip in sauce, I am using my crispy, fat-free, salt-free popcorn. I dip it in paste pecani sauce. What else? And it's delicious. Another little treat is a chocolate protein shake with a little nutmeg on top. And I was in the dollar store and got a big old bag of animal crackers. They're bland, they're not very sweet at all, but I find them work well with a few animal crackers with my protein drink if I want to kind of sit down and crunch on some cookies and milk. I do use metal straws. As you know, I am not one to appreciate single-use plastics, including plastic straws. So I try to help the environment by using a metal straw when I need to use a straw. Big surprise for me today. My son in Seattle made me some t-shirts to wear in Vegas, and it's kind of like a Mother's Day present for me. And he's made 2 shirts for me. It says Cookie Lou on the back in hot pink, and Cookie Lou Sexy Sleever on the front. This is a very pretty dressy type shirt that he bought for me at Macy's to do the print, the silkscreen printing on. And he got me another one with a V-neck in white with the same Cookie Lou Sexy Sleever on the front. And thank you, Michael. I know it cost you a fortune to mail these to me, and I do appreciate you. Love you so much, my dear, wonderful son. And look for me and my shirts in Vegas. Thank you for watching. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.